Hey everyone, this is Jorik. Welcome back to Portugal and Beyond. I hope you're having a great day. And as you can tell from the thumbnail title, I want to give you some tips and some travel advice for coming to Europe in 2022. Many of you have waited throughout the pandemic to be able to travel. We've continued to travel. We've been back to the US several times. We've been throughout Europe during this 2-year weirdness that we're living in. And I want to give you some things that have helped us along the way, as well as some things that you may need to know, or some things that may be new to you from traveling. I'm making this video because I realize as I'm checking, the majority of my subscribers are from North America, the US and Canada. It makes sense because I'm an American, so most of my perspective, for better or for worse, comes from an American mindset. So I apologize to those of you if you don't like that. It's where I'm from, so I guess that's how it goes. But I also have a lot of people from the UK, and post-Brexit and how things have kind of changed. Many people haven't traveled to Europe since the beginning of the pandemic. So this video is specific for those of you that haven't traveled internationally since before March of 2020. A lot's changed. And as you can tell from videos that I've done and others, yes, you need to pay attention to passenger locator forms. They didn't really exist. Well, now they're common and they may never go away. Your COVID status and your certificate, and whether you are vaccinated, boosted, recovered, what countries you have to test in. All of that stuff changes. And even though I've done many videos where I said, yay, there's a change, and then a week later I have to do a video again, changed again. Those are things that you have to be mindful of as you're making your trips, because you never had to in the past, but now you have to, because things are very fluid. And it's because of that fluid travel these days that we found ourselves in some pickles. So I want to give you some travel advice that might be new to you. You might have done this in the past. It's not something that we did in the past, but we have done traveling during COVID. So here we go. So first things first, travel insurance. If you were to tell me prior to spring of 2020 that you should routinely look at least consider getting travel insurance, I would have said you got a screw loose, because we would never consider that. We were committed to our travels. We weren't worried about missing flights or connections not hitting or being timely, or having to stay an extra night someplace because of transportation, accommodation, who knows what. But I will say this is something that if you haven't considered in the past, I would highly encourage you to at least look at getting travel insurance for your trips. If you book through an agency, look at it. It may be worth it to do that. Sometimes airlines offer travel insurance for the trips or the flights, depending on what's going on and what country you may be going to, or countries you're going to, and how their approach has been with the pandemic. It might be worth it. It might actually save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to be able to buy that policy. And if you don't use it, okay, you spent some money, but there might be some peace of mind of doing that now, whereas prior to spring of 2020, I would have never made a video about that. So number one, travel insurance is something to consider and at least look at maybe purchasing. 2, kind of along those lines, 2 and 3 are similar. Getting refundable, or at least partially refundable, airline tickets for wherever you're going. And that's train tickets as well, bus tickets, depending on how you're traveling and where you're getting to and from. Looking at refundable option, usually they're charging more for that. In the past, we would get non-refundable tickets because, again, we weren't worried about things happening, so we would buy that ticket, take it, and not worry about it. And rarely did we get burned by that. But now, throughout the pandemic, we've chosen to pay a little more to make sure that we have a fully or a semi-refundable ticket, because we've had to make numerous changes. Some airlines have been good about no change fees because they know this is a ridiculous time. It's a ridiculous time for them as well as for us travelers. But some airlines have instituted change fees, or they haven't changed their change fee policy throughout the pandemic. So it's something that it's worth it because you just never know. And although we're coming into the springtime and summer, and you would think hopefully some of this will dissipate or go away, you just never know. So having something that's fully or partially refundable, it might be worth paying more to get that type of ticket just in case you have to scrap the trip. All right. Also, along those lines, getting accommodations that are fully or partially refundable. Hotels. For years, we would get great deals because we would just pay the fee up front, let's say 2-3 months ahead of time, and we would save 5, 10, sometimes as much as 20% on our booking because we got it that far in advance and we paid up front for the cost, other than incidental meals and stuff while we were there. So in doing that, we didn't have an issue. But I can tell you, over the last 2 years, we've had some situations where that didn't work. And then we didn't get, we got a huge change fee, or we didn't get refunded money for certain accommodations. So we have now, for the last year and a half, anywhere we go someplace, we don't pay up front for anything. We get a fully refundable or a partially refundable hotel stay, or if it's an Airbnb or VRBO, we make sure that we don't have to pay up until, let's say, the last week or two, the full fee, and in the verbiage that we can get a fully refundable off of whatever our deposit is, so that we're not stuck flying someplace, let's say April 30th and April 29th, the country made a change, which creates an issue. So it is something that, again, you may be used to paying upfront because you get a savings for paying everything in full ahead of time. But now you have to think about that. It's worth maybe paying a little more or waiting until the last minute to pay in full where you can, just because the world is constantly changing and evolving, and countries are opening up, which is a good thing. But then there's some other countries that are staying the course, meaning they haven't changed their policies, they're not opening up, and in some cases they're closing and becoming more restrictive. So where I'm going with this, and why I really wanted to make this video, is I've talked to a number of family members. I've also heard from a number of subscribers that it's been 2 years, they haven't traveled, and 2022 is going to be the year that they're doing their bucket list. Rome, Paris, London, Athens, let's say the big cities, Prague, that people haven't been to for 2 years, and they don't know what the future is going to be in 2023, 2024. So they're going to go and make those bookings for those places, and they're going to go see them. Just want to make sure that it's not business as normal. It's business as usual in 2022, but how you've traveled pre-2020, everything's different. Everything's so much different. So we've done a number of trips along the way. And as much as traveling, we still love traveling, it's been more frustrating the last 2 years, as you could imagine, because things change. Sometimes we're at the airport and we get different news about a country. We've had to do tests on the fly where we didn't need a test and we needed a test and we needed to find a test. Those are all things that happen. And that is just part and parcel of traveling in today's world. So it's different. Need some patience. I would say if you need a drink, have a drink at the airport lounge to help relax. If you need some coffee, grab some coffee along the way. So, slice a pizza or something to kind of take it easy. The world is changing, and coming to Europe in 2022 hopefully will be a breeze for you, and hopefully you will get to see those places that you have been unable to visit for a year or two or more, or maybe you've waited your whole life, and 2022 is going to be the year that you're going to see some of these iconic locations. I hope you can, and I hope this channel helps you along the way. So as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video. I wanted to give you just some travel tips on some things to think about for traveling to Europe this year. As always, make sure passenger locator form. I've got a number of videos on countries. You got to fill it out for just about everywhere. And then when it comes to testing, know the situation in every country you're going to be going to, as well as the country you're going back to, so you know what you have to do as far as certificates, that you need to have with you for all of your bookings, as well as any testing along the way. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day. Hey, thanks so much for watching the full video. If you get a chance, and if you're interested in reading some crazy workplace stories, please check out my two books, Magnet of Madness Volume 1 and Volume 2, both available on Amazon in ebook or softcover. If you want to make fun of me, there's plenty of stories where you can do that. If you want to make yourself feel better about the job that you're in, it'll make you feel better too. But crazy stuff that happened over 30 years, you won't believe it until you read it. So thank you so much for watching. And if you get a chance, pick up a copy of one of these on Amazon. Thank you so much.